Thank you everyone for joining us here this afternoon. A very warm welcome to the Solar Hub. Discussions this afternoon. We'll start with a short film which will set the context for our discussions today.
In Belém, at the COP of Truth and the COP of Implementation, the world gathers with a renewed call from Brazil's leadership, a call to protect our planet, empower people, and accelerate a future powered by clean energy. Today, the world is no longer debating the future of energy. The shift is here. Solar is rising faster than any other energy source, bringing hope, opportunity, and resilience to communities across the global South. But ambition is not enough. What the world needs now is action. The International Solar Alliance is ready, an alliance of countries united by a common belief that solar energy must be accessible, affordable, and available for all. From ambition to action, ISA is mobilizing global solar adoption across 125 member and signatory countries, turning commitments into real change on the ground. To lead the next phase of global solar cooperation, ISA is sharpening its focus on priorities that accelerate solar deployment and deliver real impact. Rooted in ISA's global agenda, these priorities are designed to catalyze coordinated action and drive results on the ground. The Catalytic Finance Hub will provide catalytic and blended finance for risk mitigation to promote private investment in the Asia-Pacific, Latin America, and Caribbean regions. It will build on the success of the Africa Solar Facility, a part of the Global Solar Facility, GSF. Pursuing the vision of Silicon Valley for solar in India, using a hub-and-spoke model connecting existing national centers of excellence, operating as Solar Technology Application Resources Center, STAR-C, mainstreaming innovation through Solar X Startup Challenge, and replicating the success of Solar Energy Corporation of India in Africa. Through a selective platform for aggregation and scaling, such as the SIDS platform, focusing on e-tendering and e-procurement, it will deepen our engagement with our countries on ISA's 9 programs and the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative. To manage the uptake of solar energy in the ISA member countries, especially regarding solar supply chain diversification issues and points of view on new and emerging technologies, including solar PV, integrated PV applications, agri-PV, floating PV, and building integrated PV, battery storage, e-mobility, green hydrogen, grid interconnection, and solar heating and cooling. These pillars are already transforming lives, empowering countries with energy security, helping companies innovate and grow, and supporting citizens with clean, reliable, affordable power. Solar is improving livelihoods, strengthening economies, and building climate resilience. Because solar is not just a technology, it is freedom, it is inclusion, it is the power that belongs to everyone, a truly democratic energy source, open, abundant, and shared by all. ISA is ready for global solar deployment, ready to support every country, every community, every citizen, ready to turn sunlight into progress, born from a simple idea that the sun unites us all.
Hello, can you hear me? Great. So thank you everyone for coming. I want to just take you through a brief presentation of where we see International Solar Alliance moving ahead and what our pillars are. And after that, I'll be very happy to take questions that you may have. Can we have the presentation on a... Yeah.
This is the presentation.
No, okay, give me. So, I want to start by saying that in the spirit of the COP this year of Mutirão, which is also, I see a Tupi Gurani expression meaning collective effort. This is something that resonates very deeply with what we in ISA believe. My team tells me that a lot of our member countries have similar philosophies, whether it is Minka in the Andes, Burkinidi in West Africa, Sahridata in India, and Baluwala in Central America, all symbolizing solidarity, reciprocity, co-creation, and shared responsibility. I wanted to start by that because that's really the essence of what we want to do. It was born out of in 2015 in Paris COP, jointly by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and then French President François Hollande. We are now and our first assembly was in 2018. At that time, we were 15 countries. And what was the mandate at that point of time? Because solar was hardly less than 100 gigawatts globally, can we get countries to come together? Can we harmonize the standards across countries? Can we have better data availability and thought leadership and connect countries? So with this mandate, today, we are proud that we have 125 countries and they spread across Latin America, almost all of Africa, Asia and Pacific, and Europe and US and other regions. That just tells you that we are 125 countries all over the world. The governance structure is that India and France are the president and co-president, and each continent has a vice president that is rotated every 2 years. The current vice presidents are mentioned there. Now, we are coming at a background where solar world is going through a massive change. It took 25 years to do the first 1,000 gigawatt of solar. Doubling of that to 2,000 gigawatt has happened just in last 2 years. And it is not stopping there. It will move to at least 4,000 gigawatts in next 4 years. And Asia Pacific has almost 70% of the demand, where the next centers of demand would be Africa and Latin America. Of course, Europe has a huge demand. US is going, in terms of its emphasis, going to go down. But the fulcrum of solar energy will move to global south. Why is it happening? It's happening because of reduction in cost. It is now 90% less expensive of doing solar and storage compared to 10 years back. It requires 15% less land to actually do the same project. And some of the costs, if you can see, is about 3 US cents, 3.6 US cents. That is roughly 15% of the cost of a diesel or a heavy fuel oil resources. However, it is still not happening across all continents. Africa sees less than 2% in spite of having the best technological feasibility of doing solar. There are constraints on storage and transmission because the countries need to have storage and transmission together with solar. More importantly, a lot of countries will probably see a huge amount of demand for agriculture and solar rooftop. Now, as we have heard that this COP is all about implementation. And I want to emphasize that our new strategy is all about implementation. We are talking about 4 pillars. The first pillar is we want to tell all our member countries who are looking for a lot of concessional finance that the role of concessional finance should be only to prepare private sector to get the investment. Let me give you a data. $2 trillion was spent on clean energy last year. Out of that, only 100 billion was from public and concessional resources. That means 1.9 trillion is actually coming from private sector. And our view is how we are going to prepare countries to get that sector investment. That will also be through a lot of policies and regulations that are needed. So there's a big push on enabling private sector financing and private sector. The second, I worked in Africa across 25 countries for last 11 years. And even though everybody believes and wants to say that Africa needs a lot of funding, indeed true, but the binding constraint is capacity of people. Unfortunately, there are not enough regulators. There are not enough people who can make procurement documents, who can do standards, who can do testing, and people who can actually get financial mechanisms resolved. So we have set up centers of excellence in 17 low-income countries. The institutions are picked up by the country. We set up labs for testing of equipment. We provide training for private sector people to do operations maintenance. And we set up incubation centers for startups as well. Now, this year, in our assembly that was concluded two weeks back, we have set up a Silicon Valley of solar in India, because digitization is India's strength, to connect as a hub to all these 17 countries today, tomorrow 50. And they are expected to get the latest digital and AI solutions at the least cost possible to enable digital leapfrogging. Because a lot of countries missed on energy, we don't want them to miss the digital leapfrogging. So this is a big pillar and we are working very hard. I also want to mention another thing we launched is we want to democratize solar knowledge. If you are a technician in Malawi or a high school student in Brazil, all of them should have the latest information on what's happening in solar. We are creating a YouTube channel and which will be augmented in next 6 months through an artificial intelligence tool of creating programs and training so that everybody on their phones or laptops can get all the latest information, not waiting for not having access to the best universities. Third, we want to create platforms. We want to move from pilots, because the world doesn't want pilots, world wants platforms. What are our platforms? There are 2 regional platforms. One of them, right behind, so those of you who are sitting, is SIDS platform. Small Island Developing States. Small Island Developing States have come to every COP and said there's so much of talk, no action. So we heard them and we said, why don't we give a platform for bringing all the countries together and do a joint procurement. Each of the small island states have 80 to 85% of their energy today from diesel and heavy fuel oil, and they are paying almost 10% of their GDP on these subsidies. In some countries, that is 4 to 5 times of what they spend on education and health. Now, why are they not able to get out of it if the problem is so well known? Because they don't know how to do it. Their projects are too small for private sector to be excited. So 5 Pacific countries, 6 actually, 3 Asia and African island states, and 9 Caribbean island countries have come together and joined a SIDS platform for doing joint e-procurement. That will bring scale for reducing cost. They will learn from each other and they will excite much larger private sector to join. Another platform is OSOWOC, One Sun, One World, One Grid, that we'll talk about. And finally, we want to be the global thought leader of Global South. So we will come out with thought pieces on what is the real need for solar, storage, new technologies like e-mobility, green hydrogen for Global South. Now, this is just a dense slide, but I will not spend time on it. We are completely aligned with the goal of implementation, whether it is related to deliveries on pledges, scaling climate finance, accelerating energy transition, adapting for resilience, inclusive transition, integrating each of our initiatives, whether it is a global solar facility, One Sun, One World, solar for agriculture, is aligned. I don't want to spend time on it, but I want to tell you how our flagship platforms are going to help. We, for the first time, even though we are not a bank, are creating a risk facility for Africa. It's called Africa Solar Facility. What it does is it seeks to address why is private sector still perceiving a very high risk and not investing in Africa. It is creating a facility that is managed by an Africa institution, Africa 50, co-owned by 34 governments, and it gives risk mitigation guarantee for private sector to invest in DRE. It's a complicated slide, but I'll take a minute to tell you what does it mean in terms of transformation. Let's take the example of Nigeria. In Nigeria, which has world's largest energy access gap than anywhere else, 90 million Nigerians today do not have any power, in spite of that country being so oil rich, right? But at least 60% of them are going to get off-grid power. So they are moving from 100 mini grids to 10,000 mini grids in 3 years. That's the level of a scale that is happening there. So Nigeria's Sovereign Investment Authority, which is their sovereign wealth fund, decided this is very important development goal. Let me set up a $150 million equity fund to invest in these DRE companies. Their board said, what if you lose the money? Can you get an international company or partner who knows this, and can they take a little bit more risk than you? They approached us and we said, we will give you junior equity, which means if the company loses any money, the loss is first ours. But that helps the board become more comfortable in taking the risk, but also they get all the international knowledge of International Solar Alliance. So $15 million of International Solar Alliance helps unlock $150 million of equity and 3 times of that of debt, 450. So 15 million is leveraging almost $600 to $700 million of funding. Now, I spoke to you about digital leapfrogging. In COP presidency, the COP 30 presidency, Brazil has specifically partnered and recognized ISA for 2 action agenda items in the spirit of implementation. What are they? The first is use of AI and digital leapfrogging that I was talking to you about. What are we doing? We are helping doing digitized procurement, but also a digital twinning. What's the digital twinning? A lot of you have heard how much more energy is going to be needed for AI, data centers and others. We believe for the developing world, while that is important, the more important question is the reverse. What can AI do for energy? So the distribution companies, which are very poorly managed in almost all developing world, if you can digitize their assets, which means you create a digital footprint of every meter, every pole, now the technology allows a digital twin to be created where you use artificial intelligence algorithms to see how to manage it better. When this was done in one distribution utility in India, Jaipur, 5 million assets, it was shown that 25% of your power purchase was inefficient. And you can use your renewable energy much more efficiently and save 25% of cost. Similarly, if you lose power, you can rectify it in 5 minutes. If somebody wants a new connection, you can do it in less than 10 hours. So digitization of utilities is going to enable solar energy in a far bigger way than is happening right now. And we are launching a program for doing this in 10 countries with a big trust fund facility. There was a call at COP26 given by Indian Prime Minister on One Sun, One World, One Grid. We are launching that as a separate secretariat because the cost mechanics of connecting countries and continents has fallen down as well. What does that mean? It means Singapore can be connected today to India either via Bangkok or Myanmar or through undersea link, and India is planning to connect itself to UAE and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is getting interconnected to Egypt and Egypt to Europe. Why that is important? It is important because when you do a lot of solar, one of the biggest impediments you face is how do you meet your energy needs in the night? Because most countries have the peak in the evening of 7 to 9. But when it is 7 to 9 in India, it is still sunlight in Middle East and Europe. So they can give you all the power that you need. and India can supply to East Asia when it is sun there but evening there. And not every country needs to replicate storage investments. So this is going to be a big program that we will be helping countries come together. I told you about the importance of building capability. So we are working on solar water pumps in Africa as a very big idea. Why it is important? When I met heads of state of 5 African countries, they said we have 4% of our arable land. Arable land means which is without the desert and where the water level is very good, has only irrigation. That figure is 60% in India and 70% in China. Which means today African farmer works only 2-3 months when there is rain, and for the 9 months they are free, and that is leading to no food being grown in Africa, and $400 billion of food have to be imported. So they are asking, can you do solar irrigation? Because solar irrigation costs have come down by 50%, where compared to a diesel pump, it is 1/3 the cost. Now imagine the power if somehow 1 million solar pumps can be done across Africa for improving the food security. Now some of you might not know if this is really happening. India has already replaced 3 million pumps, and that is saving more than $1 billion to the country on subsidies. We as International Solar Alliance believe the world needs to come together for solarization of agriculture. We put small cold storage pilots in 5 countries, Bhutan, Comoros and Seychelles. All of them are saying that we used to lose 30 to 40% of our vegetables in absence of storage. Now since electricity cannot go everywhere, solar is there everywhere. So with a solar-based storage, cold storage, you can provide income support to all the farmers. So this is a very big program where we believe if all of us focus together, and all of you journalists need to put it on the top of the agenda for the political classes, solarization of agriculture, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Asia, whether you're in Latin America, should be the top priority. I told you about centers of excellence. These are the countries right from African countries of Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Cameroon, Somalia, Ghana, to Asian countries of Bhutan, Kiribati, and then Latin American countries, Cuba. The centers are already there. We are now opening a digital Silicon Valley for solar that is providing AI and digital services, enterprise development that was launched. And as I mentioned to you, we are in the process of creating a social media interface where let all the 8 billion people have access to the same knowledge on solar that anyone has, so that this knowledge will usher in a lot of creativity and development in all the countries. Finally, everyone tells us, do we have the right standards? So we are working a lot on making sure there is solar quality assessment and radiation resource assessments. This is to harmonize standards across all the countries. And finally, we want to have a thought leadership. So we have just released a report on global solar trends. We rank all the 125 countries of our members on ease of doing solar. So we rank, is your macroeconomic situation okay? Are your policies fine? Do you have the right projects? And on basis of that, all countries are ranked. That helps put countries have the pressure, but also learn from each other or what they can do to actually become better for investments. We are also launching technology roadmaps. Let me give you 2-3 very important ideas. If some of you were here, just 1.5 hours back, we launched Building Integrated PV. What is that? Rather than having a separate solar panel on the roof or a plant, there is now a technology where the glass on the walls, or even the tiles and the material on the walls can have solar PV. And if you are from Global South, where a lot of buildings are yet to be constructed and there's not enough land, if you can make tiles, stones, and glasses that have solar PV enabled in them, that will be the way for having energy security. And what we are going to show to you today is that we also want to encourage youth and innovation. We started with the Africa region at COP27, then we went to 30 winners, 10 from India, 20 from Asia Pacific, and today, later in today, that I will be announcing the 10 winners for Latin America. So that is it for now. I'm very happy to take some questions, but I promise to you, before we end, we will give you a small video announcing the winners of a startup challenge of SolarX.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for your... Oh, my name is Livia. I'm from here, Belém. I'm journalist from O Liberal. And like a Latin American person, I want to know what is the next steps to our area, to Amazon, to Latin America. What's the next steps from ISA to us? The next years, the next months?
So, we were in Santiago in August, where 21 ministers and countries came together to deliberate exactly on this question, on what we can do for Latin America and Caribbean. Let me tell you 2-3 very concrete ideas. One of them is because Caribbean countries are part of Latin America, they all want to come together and go for solar and storage, which are protecting them from hurricane, because they are decentralized, small, which means tomorrow, as Jamaica really struggled with this, costing 40% of the GDP, there can be smaller solutions that need not have all the damage and save money. Second, Brazil is a huge leader. Brazil has done 60 gigawatt of solar. It's now the world's 5th largest. But it has problems on integrating them in the grid. There's not enough happening on agriculture. So we want to work with Latin American countries on how can solarization of agriculture and adoption of solar in the grid become better. And third and final thing is digitization. I think Latin America is slightly behind than Asia and US on digitization. We are very happy to bring all that knowledge so that the Latin American utilities can go ahead on digitization.
Thank you very much.
Sir, I'll we talk about, hi, I'm Genevieve Hilton from earth.org. We hear a lot about the challenges of storage being affected by availability of the right minerals and materials. What is the industry doing to help address this barrier?
So that's a very important point. Let me give you a data which is China has increased the battery manufacturing by 1200% in last 3 years, 100 gigawatt hours to 1200 gigawatt hours. That has led to a huge reduction in price, but also concentration of that capacity in one country. Now, we believe that diversification of supply chain is important for the world, and therefore some countries are already planning to diversify that supply. Now, on the question of rare earth metals, I want to talk about a new initiative called Sunrise. You will see somewhere here. What is that? Sunrise means when a project has a sunset, when it closes, whether it is solar PV or battery. Today, a technology exists that 98% of the rare earth metals within that can be taken out and recycled in new batteries and new solar PV. This is called circularity and solar PV and battery waste management. Unfortunately, there is no international agreement on how can all the countries have common standards and business models to promote it. So we have taken that as a program, and imagine if a country starts producing solar regularly, after 10-15 years, it will become a virtual cycle and they will not be dependent on rare earth metals from outside.
Good morning or good afternoon. Thank you very much for your exposition. Brilliant exposition.
Thank you.
I would like to know how much it would cost to a family or another organization to have this energy, and also how usually do they pay it? Can they access to a bank credit, or how is it is going to be paid this? Thank you.
So it's a very good question. There are certain countries like Germany and Australia that have millions of homes already having solar rooftop. How does it work? You first either take a loan or you buy and you put solar rooftop. There is a scheme called net metering, which means if you're on a holiday or you've gone to office but the solar panel is generating, what do you do with that power? Net metering means you can sell that back to the grid, which means if your house consumes 100 units of electricity and your solar panel has given 40 units back to the grid, the utility at the end of the month will net it off and say 100 minus 40, you pay only for 60. So that is how the model mostly works in most places. Now, if you're a low-income household, how do you finance? So some countries, for very poor people, give some subsidy for buying the solar panels in the beginning. In India, for example, there's a scheme to connect 10 million households. 10 million households are expected to put a rooftop solar in 2 years. But if you are very poor, then 30% of that cost will be given as a subsidy by the government. On your last question, today, the solar panel cost is so less that even if you are in a country where tariffs are not very high, like assume 10 US cents, you can pay back solar rooftop in 3 years. If you are in a country where the tariffs are about 25-30 US cents, like in Africa, solar rooftop pays back in 1 year.
Tudo bem? Bom dia, me chamo Lucas Freire, eu sou de Manaus, Amazonas. Vai botar o... Lucas Freire, de Manaus, Amazonas. Foi um painel incrível, porque a gente vê que a energia é vida. E na nossa comunidade, eu sou de Manaus, da área urbana, mas nós temos 62 municípios que são afastados, distantes, e que não têm, né, essa qualidade de energia de vida. Muitos acabam, inclusive, morrendo por conta de uma água suja, porque não tem energia para armazenar o alimento. E você falou que o Brasil tem essa grande potência, né? Só que eu queria saber em quanto tempo a gente pode, essa energia solar pode chegar lá. Em quanto tempo? Tem uma perspectiva de tempo? E eu espero que seja logo também.
Yesterday, not even today, because the sun is for everyone and it's going to be there for everyone for eternity. The beauty of sun is you need not be dependent on anyone else, and the panel, which is much cheaper than any of supply, is now available everywhere. The only problem sometimes if you are in village and poor is you don't know what quality it is. If I put, what if it doesn't work after 1 year? 2, how do I get the initial money? Because the initial money is slightly high. That is why we are trying to harmonize standards so that the poor person also knows the thing that I'm buying, is it good quality or not? 2, the banks must give them a loan to actually put it. Those are the 2 things.
Sir, I am Bishendu Bhattacharya. I am from India. Just I want to know little about your Silicon Valley of solar project, where it is coming up and what is getting used for other countries.
So, what is the idea? Let's first think about it. As I mentioned, that lot of low-income countries, SIDS countries believe that the digital advancement is happening in few countries and they are feeling left behind. Also, they want to see whether the same AI and digital solutions can come at a much lower cost. That, I think, is India's strength. that while some other countries will produce the same solution as 10x, India can do it at 1x. So what we are doing is, we are first creating a virtual Silicon Valley for solar, which means if you want to do smart meters, if you want to digitize your utility, if you want to have a digital tendering system for new, all of that are services that are virtually available by a pool of experts that we are coming together. Eventually, we'll create an international center of excellence in India, in Gurgaon, which will become a center where people can come and get renewable energy simulator, have AI-based learning technology as well. The other part, which is also virtual, is training on AI-based platforms should be available to everyone. Because, you know, earlier, if you needed to get trained, other than on physical testing, which is important, you will go to a university or you will get into a partnership. With so much of material available on internet, AI allows including all of them and doing customized training. We want to bring that technology so that everybody can get solar charge.
Thank you. Jayanto Basu from Telegraph India. Couple of observation and one question. First, I think I should congratulate ISA for wonderful work that you have been doing throughout the world. And not only that, I think ISA is also proving a benchmark for the non-core event processes that are going around. If you look at the event process, I have been looking at the event process since 2009, almost every year. There are two parallel lines. One is the official event negotiation and the pledges and whatever being doing by the other countries around. So in 2015, India and France started this ISA. And now it is part of the very event process. So I think all the other activities being happening around biofuel or whatever are really should take heart from ISA. So I should congratulate ISA for really kind of creating that benchmark for at the global level. Now, you have been talking a lot about the digitization, Silicon Valley and all that. But at least at the global south, along with that, these are very important. But it is also very important to connect at the human level. Unless you connect at the human level, civil society level, on ground level, it is not going to go beyond a point because only governments cannot do that. You need to have the people at large to be part of it. So really I would like to know that what exactly you are planning to do that. And you also mentioned about the media to play a role, very important role of communication. So I think case studies are very important. If you can really develop credible case studies, not the peer thing, and then I think that can help all the journalists across the world to put up it on board. So those are, I think, very important point. Immediately the example coming into my mind in my own state in India, West Bengal, Sundarbans, which is perhaps the global pioneer in solar. We set up 2 lakh, that is 0.2 million off-grid solar in Sundarbans, the area with tiger and mangrove, I think a few decades back. So I think those kind of case studies are very important, and really I would love to know few case studies which you are being pushing around. And finally the question is, having said all this, what are the challenges that you are facing at the short term and the long term?
Sure.
Thank you.
So first of all, thank you so much for your compliment. And I would like to take that compliment that we were born out of COP. And 125 countries. So while there is a lot of pessimism, if you can create good institutions, that can be one of the best value additions of COP. I fundamentally believe in that. And I was actually working with Mr. Gon Chaudhary in Sundarbans at that point of time as well. On your questions of what are the short and medium term challenges, I will relate first of all to the point that I was mentioning. Each country, and that relates to the community and communication, my own experience after working across 30 countries for 26 years, we must not be very prescriptive going into the country and saying, I know what you need to do. That's one of the biggest mistakes. We have knowledge. We must transfer that knowledge for them to find their own solutions in that culture, in that ecosystem, in that society. And that is a difficult challenge. And if you ask me, the ability to create capacity and capability is one of the biggest challenges. It takes time. If you were to go to institutions of having the markets, the capability of making well projects, that I think is our challenge. The second and third, some of the other big challenges are that I think, unfortunately, the overall financing situation for concessional is really bad now because of so many wars, the cuts and others. So some of the genuine needs of these countries that definitely need financing, for us also, we are finding it harder. Because the financing environment, because of what's happening in the world, is getting tougher and tougher. And the third and the bigger challenge is, and which is actually also an opportunity, not many people are doing research on needs of Global South. Global South doesn't need driverless cars. Global South needs, when I go to Africa and I see burgeoning cities, can we have two-wheelers and three-wheelers? None of them are fossil fuel based, which have battery swapping technologies, local manufacturing at the least cost possible. Not many research institutions, not many innovators are thinking of how to solve the Global South problem.
Ben Payton, freelance journalist. There are certain places in the world with space constraints that can make it difficult to install solar, for example, in very small island contexts. What can you do in those kind of situations to make solar available to people?
Very good question. So what are we doing in SID's platform is, as you can see, it's a combination of solar rooftops, floating solar. Floating solar, we just released a report that they have done 10,000 megawatt, another 70 is possible. For smaller countries, island countries, that's very important. And third, as I mentioned about building integrated PV, which means in the design of the buildings itself, can we integrate PV? So when you have less land for large utility scale solar, you'll have to be innovative. In Maldives, a project has been done where the bus stands have got solar on top of it. Now we are looking at island states where some of the boats can have solar PV, where even the charging is off grid and you don't need diesel. So those are the kind of innovation solutions. Okay, maybe the last question, because my team is telling me I'll have to show you the other presentation. Different language?
Olá, meu nome é Aurélio Oliveira, estou aqui pelo Grupo Liberal, especialmente para a revista Redescobrindo o Mundo, da COP30. E a minha pergunta aqui é como os modelos de energia solar off-grid e comunitária podem apoiar o desenvolvimento econômico e social da Amazônia? E quais evidências a ISA já observa nesse sentido? E aproveitando, como a ISA considera melhorar a comunicação sobre projetos solares na Amazônia para evitar a desinformação e fortalecer o apoio local?
So, I must confess, I'm not an expert on Amazon, because I'm a very firm believer communication must be rooted in the local context. So I don't know how to communicate. But what is important, and I want to go back to our importance of social media challenge. Social media has a lot of problem, but this is one of the best benefits. Everybody has it on the phone. I want a successful mini grid in Nigeria to be shown to the Amazon person. 3 million solar pumps being installed in India, being shown to all the farmers that it is really possible. And I think that through social media and having those stories can help change the mindsets, because once the mindsets are changed, then these products can actually go away. Okay, one last question.
Thank you very much. Do you work with the countries through the governments, or you can do with ONGs or private organization, or always has to be with the governments?
So we are not a bank, so we don't lend money, but our engagement can be with private sector organizations. We have more than 100 private sector organizations that are our partners already. So we are very open to working with private sector organizations. We don't give money to civil society organizations, but we are very keen to partner with civil society and media organizations on strategic communications.
Okay, thank you.
So I think, if you allow me, we do have a video for the SolarX Challenge. Allow me to tell you on a very positive note of what is the power of innovation on solarization and by youth.
Thank you.
Hola and hello. ISA launched the SolarX Startup Challenge to crowdsource innovative solutions to some of the persistent challenges that our member countries are facing in their respective solar sector. After the resounding success of the first African leg and the second leg of the SolarX Startup Challenge 2024 for the Asia Pacific region, the International Solar Alliance launched the third and final leg of SolarX Startup Challenge 2025 for Latin America and Caribbean during last COP, reaffirming our commitment to fostering entrepreneurship and prompting local solutions to accelerate solar. This third leg focused on the LAC region, an area with vast potential for solar energy development, but facing significant challenges related to energy access, but more important, affordability and sustainability. The SolarX aims to do multiple things. One, to accelerate solar adoption by promoting cost-effective innovations and inspiring impactful contributions. To foster a vibrant startup ecosystem by promoting entrepreneurship, strategic investment, and expanding visibility, and to position LAC as a leader in solar innovation by advancing energy independence, reducing reliance on fossil fuels, and fostering global collaboration. We are thrilled to have received 113 applications from 29 LAC countries, including Chile, Peru, Colombia, El Salvador, Brazil, Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominican Republic, among others. We were delighted that some of the entries were from non-ISA countries, as solar has no boundaries. We thank all applicants in your interest and for sharing inspiring solutions. Today we'll announce 10 initiatives and startups from 9 countries that have been selected as winners, with 6 of them being co-led by women. While it was very hard to select the top 10, my congratulations are to all the 113, because you are the torch bearers of future. Each winner of the SolarX Challenge would be receiving $15,000 along with access to an acceleration program, mentorship, and a capital to scale impact. Let me introduce you to the winners of this year's ISA SolarX Challenge for Latin America and Caribbean.
Kingo is a technology company that provides affordable clean energy and connectivity solutions to people and small businesses in off-grid communities. Kingo offers reliable and sustainable energy and internet infrastructure to enable consumer goods and financial services companies to expand to off-grid regions.
In the food and beverage industry, many companies are already investing in solar energy to reduce costs. But without optimizing the performance of their refrigerator access, they end up missing the greatest opportunity for savings.
Moving on, I will show you how we can solve our customer pain in 5 steps. First of all, we do energy measurement, and also we do the credit allocation using optimization algorithms. In this way, we can improve the use of renewable energy, as well as we can improve the cash flow of the power plants. Secondly, we are using scrappers to download the bills and process the invoice, getting data to our database. Thirdly, we compare step 1 with step 2. And after that, we generate the invoices, we can connect with the bank account, we can send emails, as well as WhatsApp. The fourth point, we check the payments, we remove the defaults, and we move to the last point, that we have a customer endpoint user that they can check the savings, the bills, and they can talk with the power plant.
Our innovation operates on multiple levels. We have automated complex certification processes that enable small generators to communicate additional SDGs beyond climate actions and solve the scale problem through aggregation, pooling certificates from numerous small installations to create market viable products.
Our platform, Nexor, is the first in Latin America to forecast renewable energy generation. It provides highly accurate predictions for solar, wind, and run-of-river hydropower without installing any sensor.
After months of hard work, we developed an innovative design that integrates solar cells into polycarbonate sheets, creating a lightweight, easy-to-install roofing material. This multi-purpose system not only generates energy, but also serves as a versatile roofing option, adaptable to a wide range of projects.
Solar lamps that install in minutes and use replaceable batteries to extend product life and reduce waste. We select what already works in the world, and we make it work here, with clear installation guidance, stocked spare parts, and real support.
Que es un sistema compuesto por un tanque purificador de agua, una vendor machine y un sistema aislado de energía solar fotovoltaica. Con esto nosotros pretendemos crear una solución innovadora para comercializar agua purificada y disminuir su costo.
Our solution, lightweight electric vehicles with integrated solar roofs. This small car we produce has 100 kilometer range. By integrating a 150 watt flexible solar panel on the roof, it gains an additional 20 kilometers of daily range.
We have built a platform that makes it simple to finance mid-scale solar farms. For developers, Suno provides direct access to funding in the $500K to $2 million range without the bureaucracy or exclusion from traditional project finance.
Let's give a round of applause to all the winners. Any questions on this before we wrap up?
In Northeast and in West Bengal, people are facing a lot of criticism against the smart metering. The people have different narratives. So I'd love to hear from you what is the smart metering and how it is going on and whether it will be community level giving benefit.
Yeah, so look, smart metering is a very important ingredient in any utility. And I feel most of the complaints are related to what people were not used to paying the real costs. That's my own view. I have worked in so many countries where people feel there is a manipulation and there is a lot of increase. That is not the case. And in most places, if there is a good certification system and standards, that will take care of any miscommunication. But smart meters are very important because that allows an online availability of what you are consuming for the consumer, but also for that. India is now planning to do 20 million of them, and I think that's a very good way of managing your system.
Just in the context, I was looking into a Niti Aayog data of India, the solar potential. I think our friends, media friends from around the world are having similar kind of experiences. So I'm just giving an example. By the Niti Aayog report is saying, so for example, West Bengal is about having 22 gigawatt of potential, Telangana is having about 20 gigawatt potential. But when it comes to on-ground installation, Telangana is about 4.8 gigawatt and West Bengal is 310 megawatt. So there are several factors into it. One of them is the policy. So ISA, does it have any plan to, I won't say that you can't fix up the policy for a country or a state, but you can definitely influence the policy pattern or advocacy. So any plan to kind of influence homogenization of the policy, considering the local scenario, not only in India, but across the world?
Absolutely. So our advice on policy and regulations is a core product, but we do it only when the host country or a state in the country demands it. So we have a knowledge of what works globally and how it can be adapted to local policies. For example, I'm advising MNRE on how can the Kusum program become even more efficient, because they have asked for it, because I continue to believe that solarization of agriculture is going to be one of the most important initiatives in India. And then, of course, there are similar policies in other places. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for all your attention. You are the torch bearers, not only for ISA, for solar. Please take it to all your places and please stay in touch. You can pass on your card to Aarti, who's our lead for communications. And please feel free for any question or anything that you want. I'll be more than happy to be in touch with you. Thank you once again.